team its foreign armies. Because they did not believe in them. That could include Paul, that could include high priests, that could include Herodian family members, that could include collaborators, that could include a lot of groups. Interpreted, this means they march to the ends of the earth. They take possession of populated places. That's the Babylonians, but it applies to the Romans as well, as they think. Interpreted, this means, listen to this, they march across the plain, smiting and plundering the cities of the earth. That's the Seleucids, I doubt. My colleagues don't read this material. For this is what is meant, taking possession of populated places which are not their own, they are frightening and terrible for their judgment, and majesty proceeds from themselves. Interpreted, this concerns the Kittim, the fear and dread of whom is upon all nations. And in their council, all their evil plotting is planned in advance. What's their council where all their evil plotting is planned in advance? The Roman Senate. It's very obvious. They deal with all peoples. You say, why are they using this code? Well, they're afraid of powerful people looking at what they're doing, and it's not too difficult to, but, you know, if you were the Foreign Relations Committee of the Senate trying to get them for destroying the tapes of the torture sessions or something, you know, if you can't pin it right on them, it's not so easy to do anything to them. They deal with all peoples with cunning and deceitfulness. Yeah, well, I know about that. I know what they're like. Their horses are swifter than leopards and more swift than wolves of the might. Their horsemen ride. So for 3 chapters here, all we're going to hear about is the Kittim. So this is done right in the middle of the Kittim invasions. But which invasions? The invasions at the time of 37 BC, 63 BC, or 66 to 70 AD? To my mind, this is 66 to 70 AD. This is being written right in the midst of the war against Rome, in my mind. But you can have a different interpretation, and my colleagues certainly do. I don't know where they put it. They don't try to put it anywhere. They don't have any official interpretation. You can't really put it in the Maccabean period, although some try. Others, I don't know. They don't have it. They don't propose anyone for the righteous teacher. They don't. Only we know that they think the Maccabees are the wicked priests. Now that to me is anti-Semitism. That's just because they just don't like the Maccabees, and so we're in the Hanukkah season, and you know, Jews honor the Maccabees. And anyone who feels that the Jews feel that the Maccabees in some way were wicked priests, even with this group who have many ideals in common with the most extreme and righteous of the Maccabees, certainly Judas Maccabee, I think they're coming from about cuckoo land. And I say that in the beginning of my book, Maccabees, Zadokites, Christians, that Qumran. I say that that's just absolutely beyond the pale. People like Ramesh think that. He's a convert to Christianity, who then reconverted to Judaism. What else would he think? He was brought up in monasteries. He's not a reliable person. I don't blame the people at Notre Dame. I don't blame the people in the École Biblique, which is the French Dominican School of Archaeology. What are they going to think? They're under authority. I do blame American secular scholars, though, and Jewish scholars who don't have the pride to stand up and protest against the application of these documents to the Maccabean family. I feel that, and I've called some of my Jewish colleagues, like a guy called Schiffman, on this particular point several times. He's always on TV sounding off about these kinds of things, and he should be ashamed of himself, to my mind. He thinks that I'm trying to convert Jews to Christianity. That's how deep he's read my theories. He has a book called Recapturing the Dead Sea Scrolls for Judaism, as if I'm giving the dead, attacking me, as if I'm giving the Dead Sea Scrolls to Christianity. Just the opposite. He doesn't even have a clue what I'm talking about in my work. Ramesh didn't even read my work because he accuses me of identifying the liar and the wicked priest in all his books. That's what he thinks, the liar and the wicked priest are the same. And so, and Cross, I don't think he reads anything, and I know Strugnell didn't read anything, so these are people I've met and know, so. Anyway.
One quick question on the Maccabees.
I gotta move along, okay. But go ahead, quick it, because I'm...
When they talk Maccabean priests, though, I mean, couldn't it just be the Herod end of the family, or they actually...
No, that's not, no, they're talking about the Maccabean period.
Way up.
Oh, yeah.
150 years.
They're talking about
before.
2nd century BC, yeah, that's what they're talking about. Sure, the Herodian line, these people are against the Herodian line, which have some Maccabean blood, but they don't consider themselves Maccabees. They're just proud to have some Maccabean blood. That one. Let me hurry up. So their horses swooped on leopards, their horsemen ran and hurled themselves from afar, they swooped down like an eagle, anxious to eat. Only Alexander the Great could be talked about like this, and he wasn't cruel like this. All come to do violence, and the breath of their face is like an east wind. He wanted to assimilate everyone. He wasn't cruel. So this concerns the Kittim, listen to this, who trample the earth with their horses and pack animals. Now what could be more vivid than that? These are the Seleucids from Antioch? I don't think so. And they come from afar, from the islands of the sea. Well, all the Western invaders, as far as they're concerned, come from the islands of the sea, which is why they can apply the Kittim to the Macedonians as well as to the Romans. Daniel, remember, Kittim are the Romans. Maccabee books, the Kittim is Alexander, you know, and so on. To consume all the people, like an insatiable eagle. Ah, well, the Roman symbol was an eagle. That may or may not be appropriate, but that certainly does apply. And here, they speak to all peoples. Now, the peoples is a very important usage, because of the kings of the peoples we had in the Damascus document, remember. I told you that the kings of the peoples was a term that was used for the eastern part of the empire, where the Roman citizenship only extended into Greece. After Greece, they had petty kings that were subservient to Rome, collected taxes for Rome, like the Herodians, like the kings of Cilicia, Armenia, and so on, and towns in Syria, Homs in different places in Syria. Those in Roman jurisprudence were called the kings of the peoples. So the peoples are the ethne who Paul directs his ministry, as people call it. And they speak to all peoples with anger, ill will, fury, livid faces. These are Roman military commanders they're talking about. For this is what is meant by the breath of their faces like an east wind, and they gather captives like sand. They scoff at kings and ridicule leaders. Hey, we've had 2 columns, we're getting into the third. It's interpreted as they jeer at the mighty and sneer at honorable men. It's not the Seleucids. They deride kings and ministers. And they make light of large armies. They laugh at fortified cities. They batter down earthworks and capture them. Its interpretation concerns the leaders of the Kittim, who despise the fortresses of the peoples. Now, what are the fortresses of the peoples? I'll tell you what the fortresses of the peoples are. The peoples is another term for Herodians, because the kings of the peoples are these eastern groups. They use the peoples to refer to the groups like the Herodians in particular. The fortresses of the peoples are places like Masada and Hyrcania and Macedon.